Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 3, Episode 15, Destiny. A team of Cardassian scientists try to set up a relay station to carry signals through the wormhole, whilst Kira and Sisko struggle with prophecies in religious texts.
What did you think?
They used a plot device that I really don't like, prophecies. Even though they kind of gave them credibility with the whole wormhole aliens deal, I always find prophecy stuff just a struggle to sit through. But it was okay. How about yourself?
Not a fan of prophecy stuff. And if a prediction is so vague that you can't correctly interpret it before the event, then it's worthless. And you could do all sorts of massaging to get the prediction to cover what happened, which is what they do in the end. It's so strained and over-explained that it almost borders on parody. They were acting as if they had an enlightened moment, but it was really silly.
It wasn't convincing. I don't know why Sisko wanted to hear more from that guy at the end, Vedic Yarka, when he knows that guy is a charlatan. He's not even a Vedic. He's pretending to be a Vedic.
Yeah, and they've outed him, and they know what his agenda is.
Plus, the prophecy, the way he interpreted it, was completely wrong. So, hearing more would be useless because he has 0% reliability.
And he's not a Vedic, so whatever he says won't even be the accepted canonical version.
Well, in terms of religion, I don't know if it being the accepted version is particularly useful, seeing as that's often just popular opinion. You should go via someone's success rate, and that guy's success rate was rubbish. He predicted one thing based on texts, and the opposite happened. Sisko even looked at the prophecies and said, yeah, these are a load of rubbish. They're all contradictory and vague. Well, I don't know why at the end he was so not convinced, but
he's invested for some reason.
He doesn't want to be the emissary, something which has hardly been brought up before.
That came out of nowhere. And then, well, not for Odo. He noticed somehow. Because he notices things that should be noticed.
Oh yeah, he's got plot introspection. Whenever plot things happen, Odo can pop up and say, oh yeah, I knew that all along. Of course, I never mentioned anything. I just knew it because I'm such a good detective.
Why don't you tell us how you knew that? No, I'd rather not.
I like the science aspect of the episode, of them trying to set up some piece of technology to transmit signals through the wormhole. I really like that sort of hard science fiction style stuff, where they've got some... it's not really hard science fiction, because so much stuff in Star Trek is just made up gobbledygook, but the angle is one that I really like. It's just annoying that it was mixed with the religious stuff, which is often not that interesting.
It could be, but I think they are afraid of ruffling too many feathers.
What, in terms of religious stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they would make Sisko, at the end of the episode, say, well, this just shows that religion, even when it's grounded in scientific principles, still results in a load of useless spraff that no one can make heads or tails of, and puts people up against each other in conflict. Ha ha ha.
He is put in a tough spot, wanting to respect Kira's beliefs while at the same time not really wanting to listen to her. He's trying to say that he respects what she believes, but he won't listen to a word of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of respect, but it didn't seem that they respected it that much. A lot of people say they respect religious beliefs when I don't think they really mean it.
Right, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, so I won't criticize Cisco for saying that he respects people's beliefs, because that is a common thing that people say all the time, when what they really mean is, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, I recognize how futile it would be to argue with you.
I'm saving us both time.
How thoughtful of him.
There was a big mistake with the comet, a really big one. The comet has a tail in deep space. Comet tails face away from the star they are near. If they're not near a star, they wouldn't have a tail. But it had a tail streaming behind it, which is not how comets work at all. So shame on them for getting something so simple wrong. Although it was a comet made of magical silithium, so I can't rightly say that they don't magically work in the way that people think comets work, even though that's not how they work.
It was a magic silithium tail. What was it? Silithium?
Something like that.
Magic comet tail.
Well, there's a lot of magic / science / magic in this episode, so oh well.
We have Bashir openly sharing the medical history of his patients again.
Whose history did he share?
He shared Morn's. That he had something at Quark's and it upset his stomach.
The yolk sauce.
He's done this so many times now. Maybe doctor-patient confidentiality doesn't exist. It's considered a quaint idea.
Yeah, the number of flagrant abuses of trust. It gets to the point where maybe we're just holding him to our standards, but in the 24th century, they just share stuff all the time. If you have a medical condition, everyone will just gossip about it, and that's seen as okay. It's just like what clothes you're wearing or what kind of food you like. It's just totally gossipable.
It's the only gossip they have left. They outlawed tabloids.
Well, okay, even if you take the gossip into account, Bashir still is not an ethical doctor.
No, not even close.
Maybe in this episode he is, with that caveat, but overall still he is quite a... he treads far across the lines of medical ethics. We got 2 rules of acquisition.
Back to back and very similar sounding.
Yeah, 34 war is good for business and 35 peace is good for business.
I appreciated it more as a joke than the actual substance.
Well, I actually think it's kind of accurate. War is famously very good for business.
Yeah, and when they brought up peace first, I immediately thought, well, war is phenomenal for business.
Yeah, it's the military-industrial complex in action. But peace is also good for business. As soon as sanctions are lifted or trade agreements are put in place, there's a massive boom in business. So I guess the 2 roles actually fit together quite well. And it's kind of humorous and glib to have them contrasting. It reflects on the fact that you have to analyze the rules to be a good Ferengi. Don't just take them at face value.
You sold me.
Yes, you'll be a good Ferengi one day.
I hope not.
But they're so lovable with their waxy ears and their reprehensible attitudes to women.
That reminds me of how one of the so-called Vipers reacted to O'Brien, and she thought he was coming onto her and courting her.
I was just going to segue into the same thing. That plotline I thought was really quite clever.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They should do, as she called it, cross-cultural misunderstandings more often, because you would think they would happen more often.
Although, what was his explanation? Cardassians act annoyed at each other when they fancy each other.
Yeah.
But every Cardassian we've ever seen, apart from Garrick, is annoyed all the time at everyone.
So he's in lust constantly.
Well, every Cardassian.
Yes.
So it reframes Cardassia completely, that comment. They're not just a bunch of frustrated, angry military guys. It's actually a steamy hotbed of emotions and loving feelings.
Yeah, they have overwhelming, out-of-control libidos.
That's horrifying.
That actually makes them a scarier threat.
Well, dangerous is not as scary as dangerous and sexy.
As they always say.
I did like that plot between, I think it was Galora and O'Brien, because it reflects even now about how women are treated in the so-called STEM fields: science, technology,
Yes.
engineering, mathematics.
That reversal was nice in this episode, where she said, I find that men generally aren't good at this sort of thing, or whatever she said.
They don't have the head for it.
Yeah.
I like the line about, I can provide you with, what was it? I'm very
I
fertile.
assure you I'm fertile.
Yes. It's a bit disgusting in a way.
Yeah, it's so direct.
Poor O'Brien, he can't even have a normal time just fixing up a transmitter array. He's got to be put in an incredibly awkward situation.
He has to struggle even in times when you would think he wouldn't struggle.
So there's no reason to struggle here.
No rest for O'Brien.
I have a few little criticisms, other than the comet with the tail.
And the whole prophecy thing.
Yeah. Okay, when I say a few, probably a fair few.
Go for it.
Cisco says, I don't have an agenda, and then follows it up with the next sentence saying, I want something or other.
Oh, man. I have that too.
Well, okay. That's an agenda.
Yeah, I don't think he understands what that word means.
And then Odo made the supposedly extremely deep observation, oh, everyone has an agenda. What, really? Wow, are you 10 years old? Yeah, that whole conversation was not as deep as it seemed like it thought it was. I think the episode had quite a lot of rewrites, and a few scenes kind of showed it. I think that was one of them. The Cardassian scientists said that they didn't consider any scenario with less than 2% chance of happening.
Right.
That's very high. That's 1 in 50.
Yeah, but they kind of covered themselves by saying they're not allowed to present chances of failure.
No, but I mean, that's my point. They said that's the standard. I'm not talking about this case. Okay, 2% is 1 in 50 is not great, but they're only doing one instance here. But is every Cardassian military piece of technology to that standard? Because that's really high. If they build 50 ships, chances are one of them will explode and kill everyone on board. That's what we're talking about here. That's the impression they gave, that was the standard for Cardassian tech.
I took that as the narrative that Cardassio wanted to construct, even though it's a really bad narrative. As you say, 2% is too high. But I think really, no matter what percent the bad stuff has of happening, they won't mention it.
Maybe. The Obsidian Order were trying to mess things up anyway, so who's to say? Another thing, that annoyed me. Cisco takes Kira to drive the comet through the wormhole when initially he was going to take Dex, who is an expert pilot and a scientist, for something very tricky. That seems like a lapse of judgment. Kira just made an emotional appeal like, oh, come on, I really want to do this, though. Come on, I really want to do it.
Oh, okay.
No, he should have just said, no, I said go back with the Defiant. For goodness sake, do what I say. I'm the commander. It makes no sense that he would not take the strongest candidate for such a dangerous and risky situation.
When other things have already gone wrong. You would think he would be eager to take his best bet.
Absolutely. But he's bought into the whole Bajoran prophecy. I'm trying to not use strong language here. Did you have any criticisms?
No, we touched on the stuff that annoyed me. Although it was kind of on the nose that the three scientists, the Vipers, were dressed in green.
Oh, that's probably a coincidence. But they weren't the three Vipers. The comet fragments were.
But we're supposed to believe they're the Vipers.
Well, Cisco is, because some weird nasal old man in a funny suit told him that.
Defrocked Vedic. Oh, I guess I have one, sort of. When on the Defiant, whenever they have private chats, it's always in the sleeping quarters. And that comes off as kind of weird to me.
I don't know if there's much space on the Defiant. I think it's just the bridge, sleeping quarters, and transporter room, and the rest of it is 100% guns.
Yeah, it's not meant for long expeditions, so I guess they wouldn't make room for much else.
Yeah, there's no conference room, a bar, a bowling alley.
Couple hollow suites. How do you feel about second backups?
Yeah, you absolutely should have second backups for a space station.
Housing thousands of people.
Yeah, if you have... I'm surprised they only have two backups. They'll often build large reactors with sets of independent backup systems that are independently designed and manufactured. So if there's a design flaw with one of the backups, it won't be present in the other backups.
Ah, nice.
And Deep Space Nine or any of the Federation ships, you would think would be even safer than that because they seem a lot more dangerous. A power station or a reactor doesn't usually have hundreds of civilians living in there. It may have hundreds working, but not children and stuff. So
yeah.
You think it would be even more safe if it was that. Plus the reactors are a lot more explosive somehow than the ones we have nowadays. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have a quote?
I do have a quote.
What a coincidence.
How did you know?
Because you almost always have a quote.
I'll work with anyone who's interested in peace.
When Kira said that, she did still seem a bit uncomfortable. Well, a lot uncomfortable.
Okay, I was about to correct you.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable.
Which is well acted, I suppose. It's one of these things where your head says one thing, but your heart says, oh, God.
She has a job to do, and she's aware of it.
Well, she is until 10 minutes later in the episode when she throws that out the window.
In the spirit of this episode, I would like to make a prophecy.
Oh, okay.
So at the end, the fake Vedic says Cisco will face a fiery trial, I'm going to assume that actually happens. And I'll go even further and say it happens the season finale, because that's the perfect time to do it. If not this one, then... No, it wouldn't even make sense to do it later because people would forget he even said that.
And what would this trial by fire be like?
It would include fire.
So literal fire, or because it could mean like political turmoil.
I'll go with literal.
Okay, literally fire.
No, wait, it's vague. It's supposed to be a prediction, a prophecy, which are
Oh, okay.
which are vague.
We haven't really made a prophecy. You just said that dodgy guy's prophecy will come true. Cisco will face a trial by fire.
Cisco will face a tough situation.
Oh, what? And do you think it might happen in a season finale?
Yeah, I know. I'm really taking a gamble here. No, literal fire season finale. I'll go with that.
I'm going to have to press you to make that more specific, because that applies to every season finale of every sci-fi show, I would imagine.
Massive explosion.
Oh, come on.
Hey, I said it was in the spirit of this episode, and the one in this episode was couched in metaphor. Mine is more direct, at least.
Okay, well,
It's kind of.
make a prophecy. Oh, the two golden barrels will roll into the haystack, and the wall will fall on the old man, and the thief will steal the clothes of another thief and burn them, and then throw them in a river. You know, whatever. You just make it up, and then later on go, hey, if all of those things you said were actually other things, that's 100% correct.
Amazing.
Well, we have to watch the next however many episodes to see if there is a trial by fire.
Yep.
Okay.